If you didn't already think the NFL has made some pretty racist and garbage decisions, get this. The league said it will just now end its policy of quote-unquote race norming. This is a policy that made it harder for black players to receive compensation for brain injuries, harder than white players, because the league assumed that black players start out with lower cognitive function. Disgusting. Joining me now is my favorite person in the world, Jemele Hill. She's a contributing writer for The Atlantic and host of Vice TV's Carrie and Jemele Won't Stick to Sports. Jemele, thanks so much for this. You know, normally when you come on, we can have fun and we go back and forth about sports. I'm so ticked off about this, and I know you are too. So what's your take on this whole situation? It's not surprising, but it's certainly disgusting for the NFL's part.
Yeah, we normally do have fun, Tiffany. And with that spirit in mind, let me just say, based off your last segment, the aliens ain't coming here messing with us, dog. Like they just don't look right over us with all the chaos that's happening in this country. And listen, we don't necessarily have to be surprised to be outraged. And the NFL, this is on brand for who they are and who they have always been. And essentially, this is the same league who had tried to hide the severity of brain injuries from its players. That's the whole reason that this concussion and brain injury settlement had to take place. So let's all remember that this started from a lack of transparency in the first place. So in many ways, it shouldn't be surprising to then uncover that the NFL was using race norming in a way in which historically it has not been used. You know, just to give people a little bit more background, that race norming was something that was used at the federal level because given the testing for employment opportunities, it was supposed to be not really advantageous to Black and brown communities. So they started race norming to sort of account for the fact that they were coming from communities that had a lot more against them. That was the way it was used at the federal level. The NFL decided, we're going to remix this and use it as a way to not pay out as much money to black players. They basically used it as a way to save money. And unfortunately, the NFL has sent the message repeatedly that they are here for the use, the abuse of Black bodies, and they could care less about Black minds.
You put it, I can't put it any better. I want to play a soundbite here. Now, this is not about the NFL, but I think the message still stands given the lack of diversity among coaches in the NFL. Take a listen to Stephen A.
NBA players are some of the most powerful people in this world. When have they spoken up for Black coaches? When? When have they spoken up for Black executives, GMs, president of basketball operations? When has that happened? LeBron, all of them, everybody. Where the hell have they been? You know what? I'm going to walk away. I'll be right back because I'm scared I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble because I'm pissed. I'm pissed.
All right. Now, obviously, Stephen was talking about the NBA, but I kind of feel like this applies to the NFL, which also has terrible diversity when it comes to coaches. And I wonder if there were more diverse coaches, would we have still seen the same policy in the NFL? And secondly, do players have a responsibility to speak up about the diversity in the ranks?
Well, I want to give people, again, a little bit of history in terms of the NFL. Remember, for a long time, we did not see a lot of Black quarterbacks. Why didn't we see a lot of Black quarterbacks? Because it was a prevailing thought and a mentality by the league that Black quarterbacks or Black men specifically were not smart enough to be leaders of men, that intellectually they could not handle the position. And even now in present day, you hear in the descriptions of players that still remains kind of a biased thought in a lot of people's minds by applauding Black players for their athleticism and talking about their physical gifts, but never talking about how they're students of the game. With white players, we always hear about how smart they are. With Black players, not so much. Then you look at the coaching level. It was the same thing. The reason why you didn't see a lot of Black coaches is because Black men were not thought to be leaders of men and not thought to be intellectually capable. Again, it's that same implicit bias and sometimes overt bias run rampant. It's that Black coaches are players' coaches, meaning they can just relate, as if, you know, they're sitting up there discussing hip hop. And that's the whole reason why that these players are playing for Black coaches, right? They're not given the credit of being innovators, of being tacticians. That's not usually something that's the kind of credit given to Black coaches. And then you look at the fact that they've had one Black team president in 100 years, which the Washington football team now has. One. So that alone, these are statements that they are making about what they think of Black men leadership and intellectual capability. As for the players, football is a much different sport than basketball. Football is a sport of conformity. You know, they're quick to tell you God, family, football, or whatever order they want to do that in. And because of that, I think there is sometimes too much of a sense of one team, one fight, as in the sense of if I speak out, I'm going somehow against this general code that we have in the NFL. But while I appreciate Stephen A's passion, here's what I don't like, and I think is unfair to Black people as a whole. And you know this, given all the work that you do. I don't think it's our responsibility to be tasked with destroying and dismantling the racial oppression that's against us. That's just saying we're more at fault than the white people who constructed this system and the white people who continue to practice institutional racism. This is not to say that we should not be the champion of our own causes, but it is to say white people need to be held accountable. And I'm all for putting that energy there as opposed to making it seem like we are the ones at fault for our own demise.